Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening on our first Facebook Live event. My name is Esther Martinez, and this is Kobe Shannon. And probably in the last couple of weeks, you guys received this flyer in the mail. And so we're going to discuss some of the questions that are on the flyer and answer any additional questions you guys might have for us. So thank you for joining us.
We're excited. We're excited to be here. You know, this is our, like she said, our first event. I'm Colby Shannon, and Esther and I have been agency partners since 2001, so a long time. We've got both people joining us from the TXAM, Texas American page, as well as our Lubbock Insurance page. You know, our agency is we represent the entire state of Texas, so when this postcard went out, we were really excited to sort of update everybody on what's going on in the daycare space. A little bit of background on our agency. It started in 1950, and I'm third-generation agent within our agency. And the best hire I made was in 2001 when I hired Esther to join our agency, and it's just been a fun run for us. Esther has worked on some niches within our agency, and daycares has been one that she's really been successful with. Her knowledge within that space is great. You know, as a mom and as she's had children in daycare, and so worked and grandchildren in daycare, and as she's kind of worked, her career with people in daycare, that's a passion she's had. So it's been fun sort of as we prepared this. We're a little nervous as this is our first live event, but we're excited to answer the questions that you might have. So I think where we'll just kind of begin is walking through, if you've got the postcard and you saw the questions come through, I think we're going to start by just kind of answering why are we here, and that's sort of because there's been a change in the in-home daycare requirements within the state of Texas. So I'm going to kick it off with a little bit of intro on why that change is in a little bit, and then we'll kind of just drill down from there. As many of you know, and you've probably read because you're in this space, in December of 2020, the Texas Senate passed a Senate Bill 568, which now requires annually to either have proof of liability insurance for your in-home daycare that you have to provide to the child care regulation as you get your new license registration each year. Or option B is to provide proof that shows you have gotten written documentation from every parent within your in-home daycare that they know that you do not carry any liability insurance. So you have to either provide to them that you have purchased liability insurance for your daycare exposure, or provide to them the written consent and knowledge of that you do not carry any liability insurance for the daycare that the children are in. So, Esther, if you want to kind of maybe tell them a little bit about how they go about getting that.
As many of you guys know, you guys have a registered login with the state of Texas on the hhs.texas.gov website. In that section where you're specifically registered, it has all your specific information on your personal in-home daycare, and they have added a section where they have now added liability insurance history. So that is something that you guys can go in there and add your insurance information, the carrier that you're using, the effective date, and so forth. That is something that's going to be done annually, and from what I'm hearing, it's going to be done at your inspection renewals. So it could be different dates for individuals. So we're not going to say that it's a specific date effective June 1st, or some people have already been asked from talking to people over the last couple of weeks, to provide coverage, or some people haven't heard anything about it, but it is now required that you guys carry liability coverage, or again, like Kobe mentioned, to notify the parent that you are not insured.
Yeah, and we kind of walk through ourselves through that website task as if we were an in-home care provider, and it's basically like you click on select action, and then you go down to liability insurance history, and then complete the form. So it really was a pretty easy kind of walk through, but you guys might play with that on that hhs.texas.gov is a good kind of source for getting that information in there. We had a few, I know you had a few calls this week from people who were getting asking for quotes, and then you had I guess people that had a license exam where they had come out to do an inspection and had asked for a copy of the insurance.
Yes.
So that's something that, obviously, if you had the insurance, you would just reach out to us. We'd provide a certificate of insurance and all that to them, which we'll walk through a little more about the details of like how you get insurance and all that in a little bit. The next question we had prepared that we had sent you guys was, does my homeowner's insurance provide coverage for my in-home daycare? So many of you have a home and you have homeowner's insurance, so the common understanding for most people is that gives me insurance for anything I have going on in my house. We have that a lot on other areas, in the scope of insurance that's dealing with your house. Everybody just assumes if I'm at my house, I'm covered for anything I want to do. Unfortunately, that's just not the case. So we did a little bit of research within the rest of our team, and we looked at, being that we're an independent agency, we represent many, many different insurance companies. So we kind of went through all of our homeowner carriers that we represent, which is a lot of the big ones, Allstates and Nationwides, Travelers and Progressives and things like that, pretty brand name. And we went through each of those and we were like, let's check this one. Is there coverage if you have a daycare? And it seems like everything fell into maybe 2 or 3 categories in that answer. And one was some carriers will just flat cancel your homeowner's policy if they know you have an in-home daycare operation. So that was kind of one scenario. Another scenario was that some required proof of liability insurance, and then they would still write your home. So in other words, they're saying, we don't mind you having a daycare operation in your house, but we just want to know that you have liability insurance there because we are not covering anything with respect to the liability of a daycare operation. And then some had certain limitations, like we would, as long as you have liability insurance, we would let you continue to write the homeowners there, but we have a limitation on the number of children, say, in the home. So that's kind of what we kind of uncovered on what your options are as far as your homeowner's insurance. Most of them all came back. We couldn't find anybody that says, yeah, we intend to cover daycare liability on just a regular homeowner's policy. That's not kind of the scope of that. So,
We have a question
you have a question?
there.
Okay. Let's see. We've got live questions coming in here. Let's see here. There's some carrier-specific questions. A certain specific carrier that you maybe have your insurance with. Our suggestion is reach out to them, let them know I have an in-home daycare, and then find out. In the insurance space, we've certainly learned that it's so much better to know the answer ahead of the claim than after it. So we're always a proponent of asking as many questions as you can. On that note. So yeah, if you have a carrier-specific question that you have your homeowner's insurance with, yeah, reach out to them and let them answer whether or not you would have coverage, and then what they might do if not. So, good question.
Good question. We're going to be answering questions throughout the evening. So if you guys have any questions, just you can list them on our page there, and Colby and I will try to answer your question as we keep going on this evening. Another good question is, how can carrying insurance help me market my business? For me, I feel like it'll allow you to let prospective parents know that you have coverage in the event of a claim. I would prefer to take my child to a daycare where there is coverage just in case. Of course, insurance is just in case coverage. You never want to use it, but you want to make sure that you have it if you need to. And by having insurance, you can also advertise on your Facebook page or other marketing sites that you are insured for daycare operations when many other daycare businesses are not. So that may allow a parent to be like, well, I want to go to this this daycare provider because she is insured, as opposed to not being insured. I feel like with the state requiring daycare owners to get signatures from each individual parent that you're not insured, I think that's going to bring some questions from your parents to you, the daycare owner. So if there's any questions that you guys might have when a parent addresses you, feel free to reach out to us, and we can try to help you out as best as we can.
Yeah, I mean, we're sort of learning in the same space that you are from the standpoint of kind of where the state's position is on some of these things. We think there's a real opportunity, in this space right now if you have an in-home daycare, because so many being that there wasn't a requirement to have insurance, we think there's a real opportunity for in-home daycares to jump on it and say, we do have insurance. And that's what differentiates us between us and our, other local competitors in that space. I mean, like I say, I think a lot of parents just assume, like when I drop my kids off, that anything that happens, I've got coverage there, and it just has not been the case. So, take advantage of, and we'll get to in a little while one of the questions, and I know the key one with a lot of people is this product affordable? Is this something that we can afford, to have? So we will get to that question here in just a little bit. One of the questions we had as well that we had sent out was, why do I need an expert in daycare insurance? And our thoughts on that is, insurance is a complicated product. There's so many different, a homeowner's policy is complicated these days. An auto insurance policy is complicated these days, and it helps to have experts in this space. Esther has certainly an expert in this space. This was a niche she tackled probably 10 years ago and has been running with, and has really made a lot of really good connections within the industry, and learned a lot about, what it is within the in-home space and then the commercial daycare space, and really the difference in the two. So, it's important to have somebody that knows specific coverages for daycare. Our coverages that you would pick up on a liability insurance policy on an in-home daycare that you don't have, say, on the homeowner's policy, are things like child care / teacher professional liability insurance, bodily injury limit insurance, of $1 million limit. So if a child is injured on your property and there's negligence on your behalf, the policies that we offer have $1 million limits of liability on there. Coverages like abuse and molestation coverage is very important. Our other large niche within our agency is churches, and we insure a lot of churches. So those spaces bleed over a lot, and coverages like abuse and molestation coverage are really important for the provider. And it's as important for the provider as it is for the children, from the standpoint of, if you ever just have an accusation against you, it's important to have abuse and molestation coverage, because that claim gets turned in and you have some defense that starts to come and work on your behalf. So important coverage. And then just child accident coverage is also included on the policies that we do. That's for things that are really like no fault coverage. A child got hurt on your premises, they jumped off of a table that shouldn't have been on, or they tripped going out the back door of to your backyard. There was no negligence on your part. So it's important to have just simply accident coverage on there. So those are coverages that we certainly offer in the programs we have. We will answer many more questions individually as you would have them, offline or whatever. We can certainly help. But those are just some of the coverages that you pick up on a in-home daycare liability coverage that we think are important for you.
Our next question, I think Ms. Loretta Young Johnson asked if, is it affordable? Or what's the average price on a policy? The last 3 weeks I've been doing an astronomical amount of in-home daycare quotes, as the flyer has helped, generate some business for us over the last couple weeks. And the average typical rate for 12 children is about less than $750 a year. So, that's pretty affordable. It definitely is affordable, as far as if a claim arises, you're going to wish that you had the $1 million limit, or the abuse and molestation, or even the accident policy. Our quote that we're providing in-home daycares also comes with an accident policy. Some carriers don't provide the accident. That's something that has to be purchased separately. With this carrier that we're using, they do provide accident coverage included in the liability quote that we're giving you guys. So, for less than $750 a year, it's something that is worth taking a look at. I know that this is something that you guys have not had to carry. I've had some daycare owners that have been in business 25 years, and they're like, we can't afford this, or, we've never had to carry it in the past. But I think, I know that the state has required it now. So it is something that if you guys need it, we're here to help, and we can answer any questions for you guys, and we definitely can start a policy, pretty much on the same day. If you call me, I can get a quote for you, usually within 15-20 minutes. It's really fast. It's 10 questions. so, feel free to reach out to me if you guys need a quote.
Yeah, we can quote in multiple fashions. We can quote over the phone if you call and that works best for you. We also have gone through kind of looking at the carrier, Markel, that we're using for many of these quotes, and tried to simplify the form for you guys where there's really 10 questions they needed answered. So we created a new quote form that we have put on our site, and you can find it, the links to it on our Facebook page. You can find it on our website. And you just simply click on the Daycare quote request form, and it will walk you through the 10 questions. When we get those 10 questions answered, we have enough information to get a quote for you really in just almost real time. So we'll get those, kind of done for you in real time. We've had a few comments from folks on here that just says, hey, I have checked with my homeowner's insurance carrier, and they, quote, won't offer home insurance either if I have a daycare at the house. So it is important, to whether you purchase the liability insurance or not, to make sure you know kind of what you have in your homeowner's product. And, that's something we can help you out, something we can address as well. If you need help on the homeowner space to partner up with the liability coverage for in-home daycare, we certainly can do that too. And we have a team within our agencies that does the homeowners piece. So that's kind of.
And, I would also, if you've had an agent for several years and you're with a carrier, I'm hoping you're comfortable enough to go to them and say, can you show me in my policy where I have the coverage? Because just them telling you yes doesn't necessarily mean that you have the coverage. Specifically in the event of a daycare claim. They probably will cover the hail, the vandalism, all that other stuff that is covered on a homeowner's policy, but having the liability exposure for 12 children or 6 or 8 is something that I would want to be very specific when discussing with your agent. And I know several people don't want to bring it up to their agent because they're afraid of being canceled on their homeowners policies, but it's better to know, like Colby mentioned earlier, to know ahead of time instead of after the event of a claim where you don't have any coverage at all.
Yeah, there's a couple more questions that came in that we want to try to get to. One is, do you have a payment plan? And the answer is yes on that. Markel offers multiple payment plans. They'll offer paid in full and many other options that people are taking advantage of. So yeah, if you're afraid, the 750 range is like, well, that's a lot to just jump right off and go right at. They do offer payment plans on that. So yeah, thank you for that question. Another one is, how do we know how much insurance is enough? We did go through, and we would encourage you to, on the hhs.texas.gov site, it shows on the requirement page, I think they show a minimum of $500,000 a limit.
300,000.
300, okay, 300,000 limit. So we always quote $1 million limit when it comes to liability insurance, whether it's an in-home daycare or a commercial daycare, because the price differential is basically none. Most carriers don't offer on the commercial side less than $1 million limit of liability. So we always encourage. We've been in this business long enough to know that I always say it's the jury test too. Like if you carry $1 million worth of limit and you had a claim and there was a pretty good injury, most juries are going to look and go, $1 million limit, that's a pretty that's a large amount of insurance to carry, and I think most jurors sort of go, okay, if I was in that position carrying $1 million limit, that was about as much as I could probably have done. So we always quote $1 million limit on there, and it just wouldn't be in good faith on our end to say, let's do 300,000 because the savings is just not enough. So, we do always recommend on anything kind of in the commercial field, which a daycare, whether it's a commercial daycare or in-home, sort of falls in that realm. So great question. Let's see here. Let me see if there's any others. If there's any other questions you guys want to throw at us, certainly do that. We're kind of looking at this for the next few minutes. And then we're available. Just, certainly reach out to Esther, starting tomorrow, and love to get any feedback from you guys on this. We're excited again. This is our first Facebook Live, so we're not paid actors. We're real humans. And so, we have the same nerves that all of you would have. So, yeah, the website to find the requirements is hhs.texas.gov. So like I say, that's where we pulled our information on, because I know that's the site you guys use for your registration and your requirements. But yeah, look at our, kind of our Facebook page here. We'll have more information. This link will be saved, this video. You can watch it again. If you have any other friends in this space as well, that weren't able to meet up tonight, have them jump on there and take a look and see if we can answer those questions. And then, like I said, we came up with as many questions as we sort of knew to kind of get this conversation going. Let's see. Another question that says, do you offer coverage all over Texas? We do. We are licensed in the entire state of Texas. So great question. We write daycares in Houston and Amarillo and everywhere in between. So yeah, for sure, reach out to us. And I see somebody has even posted, or we've got the link posted for Texas Health and Human Services. So you guys can click on that on our Facebook page. That's where we had got most of our information that you guys are going to need on there. But yeah, we do offer coverage all over the state of Texas. So we have the office in the Hurst, which is the Dallas-Fort Worth location, and then the Lubbock office. So we both work out of both, and we write insurance all over the state, and be glad to help anybody from South Texas to the northern border of Amarillo.
All over. Yes. One question that I got, during the week was, do you provide property insurance for my daycare personal effects? Unfortunately, on the general liability policy, they do not provide coverage for your personal effects on the daycare. And you'll probably get the same answer from your homeowner's carrier. They're not going to cover the contents on your daycare exposure. So usually when you have an in-home daycare, I'm not sure, how much, in content coverage you guys normally have, if you have cribs and playpens and all that other stuff that adds up. But, so just, going, they do not provide,
Yeah, it's a
content
question
coverage.
probably, to have with the agent that you have on your home, and say, hey, I've got some in-home business expense. We have seen that as the world has flipped upside down in the last 12 months, and a lot of people are working from home, whether you're a photographer or a baker or whatever. We've seen a lot of people who are working in the home space. So there's been a little bit of movement, I would say, in that crossover between this is my, cribs and daycare, toys and all that is not my house, it's part of my business. So I would say just have that conversation with your agent and see if there's some coverage that might be in there. Because there are some throw-in coverages a lot of times on policies. So again, it's just, like we say, ask the question before the claim. And so I think it's one of those, just check with them and see if you might have some coverage there.
And talk to your agents. I know a lot of people, they start the policy one year and they just let it renew and renew and renew, and they don't even know their agent half the time. My goal is to build that relationship with you guys, and if you have a question, call me. I mean, I have people that reach out to me all the time, even if it's just the smallest little thing. We're here to answer those questions for you guys, because it's better to have a relationship with your agent than call. I have several people that say, I don't even know who my agent is. And Colby and I are two agents in the agency that, if you call us, we're going to be there for you guys and answer any questions that you might have. And again, like Colby said, we have a staff that, most of our staff has been around a long time. We don't have a big turnaround in our employees. Everybody we're team players. If I'm not there, David or Stephanie can help, or Ashley or Valerie and Erica.
Yeah.
So
we don't really have that, well, they're not here, we can help you. They're not here, but what can we fix for you today? The other thing I was going to say is, there's, I think, a little bit of myth within the insurance space that I can't have a conversation with my agent, because if I do, then I've told them something. We're independent agents, so that means we represent many carriers. We represent the carriers, but we also represent you guys, the insured. And we always tell people, call us, let's have a conversation. A conversation between you and I doesn't mean I have to go tell the carrier, that, they have whatever it might be. Have open conversations with your agent ahead of time, because it's important. I mean, we'd rather get you an answer that's going to protect you, and let's make a change to the policy if we need to, versus, you don't say anything to anybody, and then all of a sudden a claim occurs, and it's like, oh, if we just knew, we could have done a little bit of this and fixed that issue ahead of time. Let me look real quick. I think there are a couple more questions.
Tanya is asking, if we apply online, how long would it take to get the policy activated? I can, if I don't have any issues, and it doesn't get sent to underwriting for some crazy reason, I usually can quote it in 10 minutes, and I can bind it in 10 minutes. So within 20 minutes, we can have the policy quoted and started for you.
Yeah, this carrier's really got a great little daycare program. We can plug it in almost real time, just like we were quoting a single auto risk or something, with not a whole lot of information.
Yeah, and Tanya, the quote form is on our website, and basically really is just 10 questions. So, if you get those questions to me, I'll be more than happy to get a quote
And I
out to
think
you
the 10
first thing.
questions are like stuff that you would actually have answers for. Sometimes
Yes.
we put 10 questions, but it's like, oh, I gotta go digging. This is like,
Yeah.
how many kids are in the house? What's your address?
Do you have a swimming pool?
Do you have a swimming pool?
Those
Things
kind of
like
things.
that, just
Mhm.
basic stuff. Janet says, let's see, how does canceling a policy work? I think these are done on a pro rata basis. So if you had a policy for, I don't know, we can check and find that out. I haven't had one canceled midterm, but usually on these policies with a standard carrier like this, if you closed your daycare 6 or 8 months in and you didn't need any more, usually there's a pro rata, kind of a reimbursement on that. But that's a specific question we can certainly get you an answer on.
We like questions, Janet. Keep asking.
Let's see here. You'll again see on our Facebook page the link to our quote, so you could simply click right on that. That link will come right up, and those 10 questions will be there available for you. Any other questions specific that you saw sort of in the last few weeks since the postcard come out from anybody, or?
I've had a lot of calls are coming in. Some people, they're like, give me a few days to think about it. Again, like I said, we're just here to provide the product to you, and to make sure that you're getting the best product available to the in-home daycare market. So I can't, like I said, I can't say when you need it specifically. I mean, that might be a question someone might have.
Yeah, we didn't see a hard date on anything that says you have to have it by this date. It just says starting December of 2020. I think at the license renewals where it seems to be triggering, where
Yes.
you'll have to just register your answer to the state on.
And I did have one customer this week said that, that her inspectors, called her daycare because she provided, the daycare licensing inspector called her insurance agent because she told them to call them to get a copy of the liability policy, but she only had a homeowner's policy. So when she did that, she kind of raised some red flags, and then her homeowner's carrier, was going to set her up for cancellation. And, that's not something that, I'm going to do. I'm not going to call anybody. I'm not even going to ask you who your homeowner's carrier is. My job is to provide you with a general liability quote for the daycare exposure itself. Now, if you need the homeowners, we can definitely help you in the agency for that too.
Yep. Other question was, do you require a down payment? Markel will bill you direct on this, so we don't have to collect the down payment. You say, hey, it's 4 o'clock and I need a quote, and we get you a quote at 4:10, in our 10 minutes or so, and you say, yeah, I'd like that, sounds reasonable, and we bind the policy, they'll bill you direct on that, and they will offer multiple installment options. So, so yes, their answer is there is down payments, and they can be small amounts on that. Let's see here. Okay, good question. Janet, thanks. This liability insurance strictly covers the kiddos, right? Not the employees injured. Just as an example, if a child throws a toy and hits an employee's eye. Yes, this is liability coverage for the children. The only way you're going to pick up coverage for an injured worker is through a workers' compensation policy, and they
offer it
that
too
as well.
with the daycare policy, and so I can quote that for you too.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, this is strictly liability, negligence on behalf of the daycare where somebody has bodily injury to a child is what this coverage is going to be for. Liability that protects you on that. But yeah, if you have the need for workers' comp, because, again, churches is a niche of ours. Within churches, there's a lot of daycare. So probably the largest injury we see within that space is lifting children and hurting your back, or you trip over toys or trip over a child sitting on the floor. And so we do see a lot of injury in this space because you got little people all over the place that are
Or toys.
and they're active, and like I said, you're lifting and moving kids. So, Yeah, great question. But yeah, that is something we can look at, but yeah, would not be covered under just the liability portion.
Thank you, Janet.
Well, that,
Any other questions?
I think we're gonna wrap up if there's no specific questions, but we are certainly available for, any, specific questions you have in particular to your in-home daycare. We want to be respectful of the time. I know you guys have worked a full day in your in-home daycare and ready to relax a little, so we couldn't be more thrilled to have joined you guys tonight and had you, and like I say, Esther is going to be a great partner for many of you and kind of get your in-home daycare set up the way it needs to be.
And another thing that we do in our agency every year, we evaluate your policy. So every year at renewal, our CSRs, which is our customer service reps in our commercial and personal lines department, they'll review the policy to make sure that, you're still getting the best policy available to you in your specific market. So, that's something that not every agency does. So we're pretty proud of that. Probably why we have a great retention in our agency, but that's something that, we do as an agency for you, our customer.
Yeah, and we like to continue to improve our products and our product knowledge. I mean, if we know of a carrier, if we wrote you with Markel or somebody today, and sometime between now and your next renewal, if there's another carrier or product that comes out, we're certainly going to bring that to your attention and say, hey, this might, while this one fits you great last year, there's something maybe with a few more bells and whistles or whatever it might be. So we're always looking to see how the product we're bringing to you is the best thing within your space. So.
Well, we want to thank you for joining us this evening. Again, like we mentioned at the beginning of the Facebook Live event, this is our first one, hopefully not our last one. So, excuses if we didn't say the right thing or looked a little nervous, because we kind of were.
For sure.
But if you have any questions, please feel free to, oh, wait, we have one more question. Let's see.
Let's see. How do you advise we introduce this information to clients? I think it's one of those, as you've, again, checking on the state website, I think just get the information there. But I think you advise people, just by.
Oh, I think she's stating that, parent might want to just file a claim,
Oh,
like-
just in the process of using it?
Yes.
Oh. I don't know. Like a lot of insurance, I think insurance is like a product that protects you, and it's sort of, for your knowledge. I don't feel like there's a reason you have to show everybody every card of the policy, It's sort of like, what coverages you have there. I think the main thing is, and I don't know that you'll get a whole lot of that, drilling down from the parent saying, let me see every line of coverage you have on this. I don't, certainly not saying you don't show them whatever you feel comfortable showing them, but,
And I don't think the state is going to require you to show your policy to each individual parent. I think you just need to notify them if you do not carry the coverage.
Well, and the other thing is, and part of why you have insurance is so you don't have to be the arbiter of, is there this a claim? Am I negligent or not? I mean, you have the coverage. I will say this, when the event arises, your first phone call is after you've got the situation stable, should be to your agent to say, here's what happened, let's discuss it. And again, back to, you can call us and discuss a potential claim. That doesn't mean we have to turn the claim in to the carrier until you're ready and you feel like there's something there. So, use us as the resource when the event happens. Call and say, hey, something happened today, and I just kind of want to let you be aware of it, and can you advise me, do we turn this in or not? So, that's one thing our agency, kind of prides ourselves in is call us. That's why you have insurance. And the only day you use the insurance that you bought from us is the day you have an event. So call us and get our feedback for you for your specific event, and let us say, hey, either reach out to the parent this way, or let's turn that in and let the insurance adjusters who really know that claim space kind of work on what you might have. So yeah, great question.
And I think Judy asked, do you pay insurance on each individual child in care? Yes, Judy, you do.
Well, this coverage covers all of your kids.
Yeah, all the
it's
kids
not-
enrolled.
Yeah, this policy would encompass however many children you have. And if you look at the 10 questions we have, we ask that specific question. How many kids, A, do you have typically, and B, how many are you licensed for, I believe is the way it's asked. So the pricing that we give you, this was based on, I believe,
12.
12. So, you know, if you have more or less, then, you know, we'll adjust that accordingly. But yeah, coverage is for however many you have, and we don't have to list names of the kids. It's
No.
just one of those, the policy covers for however many you have at the time, so. Let's see here.
I think that's it.
I think so too. Yeah, I think that's all the live questions we've seen on here. So, again, thanks so much for joining us. This was fun. Look for you know, future Facebook Live events. We'll certainly keep you updated if we do another one. And as we get feedback from you guys and you have other topics, we'd love to do this again and answer more questions. As you kind of begin working through the process, we'd love the feedback from you as well on kind of is the coverage that we're providing kind of seem like it's fitting what the state's asking you to provide.
Yes. And another favor I'd like to ask, I know several of you are part of, you know, area in-home daycare associations. If you, you know, have any additional questions or would like to pass our information on to someone there, you know, I'd be more than happy to reach out to them, and maybe we can share this video with some of those organizations that you guys are a part of.
Yeah, and we will make this we'll make this video available on these Facebook pages, so if you
Yes, where you can
point
come
people in
back.
our direction. Or if you have questions and want to walk back through it after you've reached out to the state, look back over and see kind of how we addressed a certain topic, you know, that might be helpful. So, great.
Well, thank you all.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.
That's good. I think we answered most of the questions that we
I think so. Good question.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
You end this live video?
This one as well? Or they told them both?